There we go. All right, good afternoon. My name is Aiden Hill. Thank you for showing up. Excited to give this little concert, recital, whatever you want to call it to you. Just as a thank you for allowing me to use this pipe organ, a very nice pipe organ at that, to practice on. This past summer, I went to Cincinnati for what's called a POEA, a Pipe Organ Encounter Advanced. What it is, it's a week-long camp, so to speak, put together by the American Guild of Organists, which is a national guild comprised of organists. They sponsor this, and they bring in instructors from various colleges and universities all over the country to come and work with whoever went to the POE. So I got to go. Worked with instructors throughout the week on a couple of pieces. One of them is what I'm going to be playing today. It's the very last piece. I'll elaborate more on that later. But in order to prepare for this POEA properly, it would help to use a pipe organ. And over at St. Pat's, where I normally play, it's just an electric organ, and there is a huge difference between an electric organ and a pipe organ. So, with that being said, once again, thank you for letting me use your pipe organ, and this is my concert to show my appreciation for that. So, first piece is a piece commonly known as the Widor Toccata. It was written by Charles Marie Widor from his Fifth Organ Symphony. It's the last movement. It's a big, loud, really fast French organ piece. This is what the French organists and composers like to do, is they like to put everything they can into their piece, as many sounds, as many notes, whatever. Something that's characteristic that you'll see in this piece and another piece is that it'll start out loud and prominent, it's gonna quiet down in the middle, and then they're gonna come back really loud and then end it even louder. It's about a 6-minute piece consisting of loud, soft, loud, loudest. Interesting little side note before we get started is, if you went to a French cathedral and heard this same piece played, you would hear it far slower than what I'm about to play it. Because when you get to these big, block, long cathedrals with all that reverb, it takes a long time for that sound to go down and come back to hear it. So in America, we play it in about 5-6 minutes. In France, you'd play it in about 9 minutes. But this is the Widor Toccata by Charles Marie Widor. All right, so hopefully that was a nice way to start this off. Next piece is a piece that I have used multiple times, several times. It's a step back in time from what we just played. It's a piece by Bach, J.S. Bach, the renowned composer, organist. It's a small little movement from one of his fantasies in C major. 2 years ago, I went to the pipe organ encounter that was at Wichita State. And in order to get in, you have to audition with a piece, and this was the piece that I used for that. After that, I've used it for just about everything from weddings to funerals to Christmas and just regular Sundays. So it's a much quieter, less exciting sounding piece than the Vidor Toccata, much more mellow. Hopefully I won't put you to sleep, but this is J.S. Bach's Fantasy in C major, catalog number BWV 570. And just by the way, the 570 and 560, anything like that on the program, all that means is that when the composer's compositions were being cataloged, all that means is that in the catalog, that is the 570th piece that he composed. So he was at work for a while, so. But anyways, this is the Fantasy in C major. All right, so that's that nice little piece. Next one is also another Bach piece, J.S. Bach. It's one of his little preludes and fugues. He wrote a series of pieces that consisted of two movements, a prelude and a fugue, and called them little. Reason being, because most of Bach's, and if you look at any other famous composer, their preludes and fugues, regardless, were probably 11 minutes long. These are combined about 3 minutes, hence the name little. Prelude and fugue, all that means, like I said, it's two movements. There's a prelude. It sets up the themes that come in the fugue. The prelude is a lot more free-flowing, more loose, not as much structure to it. A fugue is written based off of one theme that is recurring constantly throughout the piece. So I'm going to start it in my right hand, and then it might move to my left hand. And then the theme might move to my feet, and they might all be playing at once. It's much more strict and specific. Fugues can be tricky, they can be easy. This is supposed to be one of the harder ones, but it's a very happy sounding. So even though it might be the most difficult one, it's a very happy, bouncy sounding fugue. So this is Bach's Prelude, Little Prelude and Fugue in B flat major, BWV 560. All right, so there's that happy little piece. Next one is going to be much quieter now. Stepping a little forward in time to the era of Felix Mendelssohn, or just Mendelssohn Bartholdy. Point being, Mendelssohn. This is one of his organ pieces. Mendelssohn was mostly known for all the piano pieces he wrote. Extraordinary pianist, but he still did his share of organ work. This is from one of his sonatas, the third sonata. It's the Andante Tranquillo, and the way a sonata works is, I can go into detail, but in a nutshell, it's 3 movements: loud, soft, loud. This is the middle movement, so it's soft. Tranquillo implying soft, tranquil. It's a very gentle piece, very flowy. Again, this was also one of the pieces that I took to the Wichita POE. This and the next piece to counter the one right here. So this is the Andante Tranquillo from the Sonata 3, Opus 65 by Felix Mendelssohn Bartholdy. All right. Next piece is a piece by Pachelbel, Jan Pachelbel. Most of you, if you've been to weddings, probably know Pachelbel by but he also had a completely different side of him from this nice, gentle, flowing canon in D that was all happy, the bride coming down. No, he also wrote some stuff in minor that's big and loud and fast and kind of sounds like a Dracula type of thing. This is a very short toccata, it's about a minute or so, but he wrote a series of toccatas all in various keys, and this is the one in E minor. It's a very improvisatory piece, just means that it was improvised. He probably improvised this, made some tweaks to it, and then wrote it down. Again, it's very fast in the beginning, not much structure or formation, just a bunch of notes. It sounds really cool, but then towards the end, he starts to put it together a little more so it sounds a little more structured. But this is Jan Pachelbel's toccata in E minor, catalog number P462. Yeah, I would say that's a whole lot different from his light, fluffy canon in D. The next piece is kind of an interesting story about it. It's a hymn that sometimes we sing at St. Pat's for Mass, but it's more than just an old church hymn. O God Beyond All Praising, like many other church tunes, regardless of what the actual hymn name is, it comes from a tune that has a really weird name to it. Maybe I can figure this out. Like some of them, Heiferdal, for example, is the they all have these really interesting names, and so this one has a name called Thaxted. The tune Thaxted also came from a large symphony called The Planets. It was written by Gustav Holst, and it literally is the planets. There are eight movements, I think, and they all have a planet for each of them. So the first movement is Mercury. The second movement is Venus. so on and so forth. This one came from the movement called Jupiter. It's about a 7-minute movement, and about 2 minutes, right in the middle, there's about 2 minutes worth of this tune called Thaxted. And that's where this tune comes from, is from this symphony called The Planets, from Jupiter's theme, was turned into a hymn tune, and then called O God Beyond All Praising. There are some other variations of it also, but regardless of what the hymn name is, whether it's O God Beyond All Praising or something else, it remains that it is Thaxted from The Planets, from Jupiter's theme. So this is my own little arrangement, kind of improvisation on O God Beyond All Praising from the tune of Thaxted from Gustav Holst's The Planets. All right, so now we are on last piece, biggest piece, loudest piece, longest piece. This is the piece that I took to the POE in Cincinnati. This is the piece that I had been practicing for all summer here on this organ. Now, we may not have a big French cathedral like Notre Dame, where this probably would have been played, but this is still a very workable organ. When you get into your different organ types, like I said earlier with the Vidor toccata, your big French organs, they're big and loud. They love their sound. They love their rich sounds, the reeds, everything. When we come to an organ like this, where it's more of an American style, it's kind of a blend of all the different organ building styles, which is kind of nice, so you can do whatever. Like I had a Bach piece, that's an old German style sound. I can get a German style sound out of this. This last piece, it's a big, loud French piece. I'm going to have lots of moving notes and lots of mixtures and reeds. That's why this is really a great organ. This church is blessed with such a great organ. And so I think that's how we can take the context of the last song into this next one, the O God Beyond All Praising, that we have God to thank for these brilliant minds that come up with things like this, music like this, instruments like this. And this last piece is certainly one of the best examples of that, of these gifts that these people are given to write such pieces and create such instruments to express that. So this is the finale from the Sonata 1 in D minor by Alexander Guillemot. All right, so that wraps it up. Although, if you want to, after this, if you would like to, if there's a small group of people who would like to go inside the organ, who aren't familiar with how organs work, I can explain how all of this happens with the pieces I just played, how everything works, why it sounds the way it does, all of that. So if there is anybody who would like to, just come up here to this door right here, because that goes into the organ chamber. Other than that, thank you for coming today and supporting me, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. And for the record, it's only 2:48, so the Chiefs game still has not started. You still got time.
So talk about, like, back in the time of Bach band, how was the sound created?
The same way it is now. Organs haven't really changed for 400 years. The only difference between Bach and now is the way the organ works. In the 1600s, that era, 1500s, and even before that, all the organs were purely mechanical action. There was absolutely no electricity involved. They used to have basically slaves go behind the organ and pump these massive bellows that would supply air to the organ, while the organist would sit at a very tiny, cramped console, and every time he pressed a key, there was a direct tracker mechanical action that went to each individual pipe. So then it really gets mind-boggling and confusing when you think about that. If there is a pipe for every single key on the keyboard, and you're playing more than one pipe at once, more than one type of pipe, there's so much going on inside of the organ. Now, well, most organs in churches and concert halls, what they use is this. It's called an electropneumatic action. All that means is that you have the pipes in a separate space, and the console, or where the organist plays, is in a separate space. Every time you press a key on the console, it sends an electric signal through a cable to a, I don't know what you want to call it, computer basically, and from there it tells which pipes to play. So it's a lot less difficult because there's no mechanical action that you have to press down. So yeah, that's the primary difference between Bach's time and now. So, are there any other questions?
How many pipes are in this organ about?
Oh, okay. I don't know. Well, I can do math in my head, which I can't really do that, but for each set of pipes, each rank, that's what a set of pipes is called. There are 61 keys on a keyboard or manual. 61 keys on a keyboard, there's a pipe for every key. So there's 61 pipes in one rank. This organ has about 8 ranks. 61 times 8 is, I don't know. Okay, so 400 to 500 pipes. Some organs can have like 15,000 pipes in them. Maybe not that, but they can get really big. Really small like this to huge like the Mormon tabernacle organ. That is a massive instrument. But this one, what's unique about this is even though it has a very small size, the way it's designed allows you to get that big, loud sound that you would hear in like a French cathedral or something. And then that's a whole nother hour-long discussion on how that works. So, are there any other questions? Okay, that's always a hard question. Favorite composer and what I would like to do. Composer-wise, any French composer like Vidor or Guillemot, anything like that, they always have way too much fun with putting as many pipes as they can at once into one song. And I really like their style because they make you, French composers, French Romantic era composers make you wait. They make you anticipate what's going to be coming. So like with the Guillemot or the Vidor, it's always, well, where is it going? Is it going to get louder? Is it going to get softer? And next thing you know, we're way up high on the decibel chart. It's like, whoa, it's loud. So any French composer, probably Guillemot, just because of that last piece. And what would I like to do with this? With organ, that's a really good question. There are plenty of things you can do. Something that a lot of people do is concert organists, where they'll just travel around, travel all over the world, various organs and cathedrals and concert halls, and they'll do what I just did, give a concert, although it'd be a whole lot longer than this. Another thing that I could do is organ building. That's just building these, and that's a whole lot of fun, because that's a whole nother art, and a lot of architecture and engineering involved, which is a lot of fun. I like that. But yeah, I still really don't know what I want to do. I got a few years to think about it, but so any other questions about organ or myself or whatever? All right. Like I said, if there's anybody that wants to know how it works on the inside, you can go up to that door and I can show you around. But other than that, thank you for coming.